So you got a sweet new Jeep and you're ready to transform it into a beast. That's exactly what we did. And the next step in our transformation was a Hooke roof rack. Follow along as I show you how to install it. Before we get started, please consider subscribing. All the gear you see in this video is available on Amazon, and by far the best way to support this channel is if you use my affiliate links in the description. Massive thanks to everyone who does. And big thanks to Hooke for sending me the gear to make this transformation possible. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below or shoot me a DM on Instagram. The directions are easy to follow, but you might gain some tips from this video too. Hooke parts are always pretty well protected in the packaging, but you never know how shipping companies will handle packages. So as a DIY installer, always keep a mallet and a rattle can of satin black paint around. Don't want to be a victim of poor shipping. I got a lot of parts from Hooke for this Jeep, and this wind fairing was the worst thing I got. It's a little bent, but not really bad at all, and it was a super easy and quick fix. Begin by installing the wind fairing onto the extruded aluminum piece using the included channel nuts. You'll want to center the fairing before tightening it down. You may even considering leaving it somewhat loose until you install it on the rails. The crossbars are threaded on the ends for fastening it to the side rails. Line up all the crossbars and hand tighten the side rails to the crossbars. Once the side rails are on, you can tighten them down. Now install the fairing and the rear end cap. You'll notice there are longer and shorter bolts that have the same thread. Be sure to use the shorter bolts for this part. I mixed them up and I had to track them down later when mounting to the roof. The end cap goes on with 3 bolts on each side. It's nice that they provide these nuts that self-lock so you don't need to use a wrench on them when you torque them down. Line up all the rack support legs and push on the rubber feet to those legs and the leg cap clamps. Not exactly sure what to call those. They're just the caps that go on the legs and help tension it all down. Loosely attach the legs to the bottom of the rack rails so you can adjust the position of them after putting the rack on the roof. There's no right or wrong on the placement of these, just space them out as needed for how you'll be using the rack. It took me a minute to figure out exactly how to get this thing on the roof by myself. It definitely would have been easier with a friend, but I was able to just lay down some cardboard on the roof to prevent scratching and slide the rack on up. From there, I took a minute to center the rack by making some adjustments and eyeballing it for center before tightening it down. Remember to install these tensioner bolts on the leg caps before bolting the caps onto the legs. I made that mistake the first time and I had to pull them back off. These are also the longer bolts I mentioned earlier. The shorter bolts with this same thread pitch would not work as intended for tensioning the rack to the rain gutters. Thread the cap clamps onto the legs, but don't cinch it down completely yet. Tighten the top tensioner screw until the clamp is nice and tight first, then finish tightening the clamps to the legs to lock in the tension. One issue I ran into was the top weather seal on one of the doors was rubbing on a rack leg on one side. I simply cut the bottom of the rack leg rubber and that fixed the clearance issue. If you pick up a few more legs, you can even mount a Featherlight brand rooftop tent to the rack since they are the lightest, fully serviceable, and affordable tents on the market. Again, let me know if you have any questions at all. Thank you all so much for watching and keep an eye out for the full transformation video on this Jeep. See you on the next one.